I said the Lions won a game. Man, we going all the way.
And we're back with another episode of Great Lakes State Football, episode 7 in the new year, 2022. Looking forward to our first full calendar year as a podcast here, talking about everything football in the Great Lakes State. And kind of a couple interesting notes before we get started here. Brett Johnson, one of our co-hosts, is joining us from the Twin City. He is currently on a layover in Minneapolis, waiting to go to Las Vegas. Brett
Live from Minnesota, Bart Johansson.
Still looking for Kirk Cousins.
Oh, are you?
Haven't found him yet. I think he's in COVID protocol.
Speaking of COVID, I have COVID. So I have been in a basement since Thursday. I'm doing better. It's Tuesday night. I'm going on, what would that be? 6 days, 5 days here, whatever it is. I'm supposed to quarantine for 10 days before I can go back to work. So that's lots of fun. I am feeling better. For anyone wondering, not 100% yet. The first couple days, especially the first 3 to 4 days, were not great. But...
Who cares?
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks a lot.
That's what your Spartans would do.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they would. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to get into a few topics here. Unfortunately, this is the first episode since the first one without a guest. So we are just the three of us going to be talking through some of the topics around the state of Michigan here with football from the last week. And that will be it for this episode. We will probably have a guest on again sometime soon. Especially as we get into the off season here and things kind of wrap up with the season, especially after this week. The only really topic left after this week would be NFL season winding down in the national championship game. So there's not a whole lot of football left. All right. So the first thing we're going to get into here is we are going to discuss MHSAA, Michigan high school football, a little bit. There's a couple things that popped up over this past week that are noteworthy. First thing, the D zone reported. Most of these were reported out by the D Zone. Appreciate those guys over there and the work they do. It was reported that Belleville and Detroit King, the Division I and Division III state champions from this last season, they will be opening each other's schedules up as their first game of the season later this year, as it is already 2022. Belleville finished the season 13-1 with an incredibly impressive 55-33 state championship winning game over an undefeated Rochester Adams. And we talked about the Detroit King game. Also a very impressive win. Detroit King finished the season 13-1, losing their only game of the year, the opener down in nationally ranked Carmel, Indiana on a Hail Mary. They won their Division III state championship against DeWitt on a goal line stand. That was a pretty crazy game to watch. So, gentlemen, any thoughts on this game? This is a pretty crazy game to open up the year.
I think the new playoff format opens us up for this, which is pretty freaking sweet. You know what I mean? You're not... First off, neither of these teams are probably going to be fighting for only 6 wins like the old format kind of forced, but it doesn't really hurt them to play each other because they're still going to get a ton of points, and it's good experience for the playoffs. I mean, both of these teams will most likely make another run at a state championship, both of them returning their quarterbacks, both of them returning 5-star quarterbacks at that.
Yeah. I was going to say the quarterbacks both returning is pretty big.
Yeah. So I think it's great. We need more.
I think it's definitely going to kickstart the football season next year. It's really good to see some of these top talent guys staying in state. You know, oftentimes, especially at the quarterback position, you get a top guy and he tends to go off to like an IMG or St. Francis Academy and go play for a parochial school there. It's definitely great for the state. And being that high school football starts a couple weeks before college football, I expect to see a lot of college coaches in the stands there. It's definitely going to be one to watch, especially for the guys under center. Well, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I don't think they announced the location yet. It's pretty early. Most outlets don't put out the schedules until like spring. It's like late spring. A lot of the times the official schedules and locations. So I don't think they said yet whether it was at King or Belleville, but Brett, the quarterbacks.
You and I are going to be going to this.
Yeah,
I bet you they play out at Wayne State or something. It seems like
that's probably good.
They have like it's not a tournament, but it's like a invitational where they host kind of like what Michigan does at the Big House. They host like 4 big games in the area at their stadium.
Well, Warren De La Salle, I think, usually plays a few games there.
At Wayne State?
Yeah, I know they played DeWitt there last year.
Okay. But yeah, Kory, I would love to go to that game.
They might even play it at the Big House. Half these kids are going to be playing at the Big House. That's
true. There was 2. They had 2 huge games at the Big House to open up the schedule this past fall. So
4 games.
4? Was it 4? Okay.
And Bellamy's at Michigan coaching, and he's the old Belleville coach. So
that's a good point. I wonder if
Bellamy's
that will
from West Bloomfield.
Oh shit, you're right. I'm an idiot.
God, Kory.
I'll go fuck myself. God damn it.
I like the confidence though.
I want to just before we move on from this, I just want to add one more thing. Kory mentioned the playoff system. Yeah, and if you're listening, the new playoff system, how it worked this year, it was completely off a point. So it's no longer a 6-win automatic bid, excuse me, like it was from 1999 to 2019. For 21 years, that's how it works. So, Kory, I think you're absolutely right. I think the new playoff system will definitely open this up to more teams to, playing harder schedules because it only helps you. However, this helps King more than it does Belleville because King is Division 3, Belleville's Division 1. So this actually would help King a little bit more. It helps either team if you win. But in terms of win or lose, it helps King more because of Belleville being a bigger school. You get more points for playing bigger schools in the new system.
Well, regardless, it's going to help King more than it did playing and losing to Carmel on a last-second Hail Mary because they're an out-of-state school.
Yeah. Although I thought they had some sort of a multiplier system set up for out-of-state schools. I'm not 100%, but I thought they did. I guess I'd have to go look.
It's still great exposure for the state of Michigan, regardless of.
Yeah,
I think Michigan high school football is growing exponentially in the state of Michigan, or especially over like the last 5 years, and this just continues to compound that. So that's great.
The problem is this should be aired on like an ESPNU or ESPN News, but it won't because they don't do that in MHSAA.
Yeah,
stupid.
No, it's unfortunate.
Oh, really?
You're right. Probably won't.
No, they don't do that in MHSAA.
Yep.
I know, Mark. I'll call him. I'll tell my mom to tell him.
Call him up. See what's
Please
up.
do.
All right.
Have
so
him on the air here.
Moving on from this topic, another topic here. Again, the D Zone does a great job keeping track of a lot of high-profile recruits, all of the recruits for football in the state of Michigan. They just had a tweet that they put out on January 2nd that said after the official signing period, Kaz Tech is now over 80 FBS signees since the 2002 class. So that is the past 21 classes, including this one. That puts them, or 20 classes, excuse me, including this one, or 21. I guess it'd be 21 if you count the first one and the last one. 80 total signees and 21 classes. That's almost 4 per year. If you average it out, I would imagine that the majority of those we were just talking about this before we started. Kaz Tech's true run here and prominence in the state of Michigan started in 2010 with a semifinal run, and then all their state titles came after that. So it's really been the past 11, 12 seasons that I would imagine the majority of those have come. But the number 2 most signees for FBS schools since 2002 is King, and then Orchard Lake, followed by West Bloomfield and Brother Rice. So I wasn't really surprised by Orchard Lake or Brother Rice. King and Tech honestly aren't really a surprise either. I really think the only one that surprised me was West Bloomfield with 29 at number 4. I was really surprised to see that they had that many. Anything that surprised you guys about this list?
You said that was since 2002, Vince?
It includes the class of 2002. It's a list that D-Zone has on their website where they keep track of Division I FBS scholarship players since the class of, it includes the class of 2002 till now through the class of 2022. So it would be 21 classes if you include the first and the last. So
yeah, just a couple crazy things. Like we talked about prior to even jumping on here, Kaz has only won like 3 state titles with 80 recruits, which is pretty nuts to think about. And then also, I know Cass Tech, I believe it was probably 2014. They had one of those years where they had like 8 or 9 D1 guys on their roster. Not necessarily all FBS, but and then I know when we were in high school, Orchard Lake had a year like that where they had like 6, 7 guys that all went D1 in like 1 year, which is pretty crazy. So these numbers are interesting to think about. I wonder how many years they had 0 or how many years they had like 10 dudes that all went D1, which is crazy to think about coming from Grand Ledge, where we have, like, what'd you say, Vince, 6 ever, or like 6 since 02 or
6 since 2001.
Yeah. So just kind of crazy.
So yeah, if you went back one more year for Grand Ledge, you'd add 2 more. We had 2 Big Ten commits in the 2001 class, but yeah, it is also interesting how saturated it is, and Brett usually talks about this too, in the Detroit area. Even if you go down this list, I mean, Muskegon only has 19. I was kind of surprised by that. As I was scrolling down this list, looking at some of the other schools, Rockford only has 9. Rockford, as much success as they have had, don't tend to have a lot of FBS signees. So very interesting.
And how saturated that area is. I mean, Cass Tech, King, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Brother Rice, and then Southfield, which is obviously closed now.
Yep.
I mean, they're all probably within 20 miles of each other?
I mean, there's a ton of huge schools, all right next to each other. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a very concentrated area population-wise in general. So,
one of those things, too, I mean, being in the hub of Detroit, you get a lot of exposure. I mean, if you're playing a D1 guy almost every single game, people are going to notice you a lot quicker, and you might not even be that good. You might just have the size. I find it interesting, Vince, you said there was 80 guys from Cass Tech that have gone to FBS since 2002. Take a guess at how many of those guys made it to the NFL.
Did you look it up?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 12.
Less than 10?
5, 6, 6.
Really?
Nope, 7. Yep. There was 7 total, and there's only 5 active. You got Vernon Golston, Deanne went to Michigan State, Joe Barksdale, he's a tackle. I'm not sure where he went to school. Lionel Hill, Delshawn Phillips, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Michael Onwenu, and Jordan Lewis. Yeah, there's only 5 active.
I think that's a good reminder to people just how hard it is to go from each level to each level. I mean, it is a hell of an accomplishment that they have 80 guys who have signed Division I FBS letters of intent over the last 21 seasons. But I think that's a very incredible, accomplishment, but it's even harder. I mean, you got to think, you guys know this, and if you're listening, most people who probably listen to us know this, how hard it is to then go to the next level. I mean, you're drastically reducing the number of opportunities. I mean, there's 130 something FBS schools, with what, I don't know, what is it like? Not how many scholarships for an FBS school? It's like 100 and
I think it's 85.
Is 80? Okay, I didn't think it was quite. I didn't think it was quite 100. So I mean, 85 times 130 something. That's quite a few FBS scholarships, right? But then you go down to 32 NFL rosters, where they keep 53 guys they keep on the roster. So it just gets harder and harder at each level to make it. So that doesn't surprise me. That's less than 10. I mean, I was
bunch of Michigan boys though.
Yeah.
Waynu, Delonte Hill,
DPJ.
Yeah, DPJ.
Credit to University of Michigan.
Harvey. Go Harvey.
All right, our last MHSAA topic here is another brief one. Just wanted to mention really quick that the All-American Bowl game sponsored by NBC Sports that is played at the Alamo Dome in Texas on January 8th, which is this coming Saturday at noon. There were 4 Michigan players invited to play in this bowl game. Josh Burnham, linebacker from Traverse City Central, Miles Rouser, DB from Belleville, Nolan Ziegler, linebacker from Grand Rapids Catholic Central, and then Jaden Mangum from Groves, defensive back. Sorry if I mispronounced any of those names incorrectly, but that's pretty cool. We had 4 guys from the state of Michigan invited to that All-American Bowl game. You guys had any thoughts on this one? I was kind of surprised to see they were all defensive guys. We didn't have any
3 of the 4 played
offensive players.
3 of the 4 played in the state title. So pretty cool.
3 state champions. Well, 1 runner-up. Traverse City Central was a runner-up, but GRCC and Belleville, state champions there. anything you want to add?
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I do. It's one of those things. I know we're going to talk about it later, but I mean, you have all these guys that are opting out of bowl games. Isn't this kind of the same thing? I mean, these guys have nothing to gain from playing in this game. I just appreciate them going out and playing for the love of the game. I know it's cool because some of these guys, it's their first time playing on like the big TV on ESPN. But I mean, these guys could have a career-ending injury just like anyone could in the bowl game. They're not really playing for anything.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said this because I know that we mentioned before we started recording that they used to have the Army All-American game, the Under Armour All-American game. There was no players from Michigan, right? I believe that was what Kory had looked up and said there was no players from there. But I think you're right, Brett. I mean, what is the point of playing this game unless at this point you haven't signed a letter of intent? I mean, I would imagine most of these guys have signed them.
You're a major D1 recruit playing in this game, so it doesn't even matter.
If you're playing
absolutely.
In this game, you hold more than a dozen offers.
So then that's why I just don't understand. Is it just like you said, Brett? It's just guys who really want to go play another game, but I mean, you're about to go play.
Swag.
You get a bunch of free stuff. I mean, I don't know. Good for them. It's a heck of an honor to be named an All-American candidate for this game. But
the two LBs both going to Notre Dame. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's
two
true.
Michigan linebackers.
That is true. Interesting that they didn't get picked up by Michigan or Michigan State.
They both had offers by both.
They were persuaded by the Fighting Irish, and apparently Brian Kelly taking off didn't matter.
Yeehaw, family.
All right. You guys want to add anything else here on high school football? Otherwise, we will move on to D2 here.
I miss it. Good.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit about Division II football here. What we want to talk about first, the D2football.com. The guys over there put out their Elite 100 All-American team. This is something that they've done for 22 seasons now. They started putting out an All-American team since 2000. They basically, their entire staff votes on and puts together this team. Keep in mind, there are 170 Division II teams. So this is a pretty big honor to be named. It's either first team, second team, or honorable mention as a part of this team. Several schools from the state of Michigan were represented. I feel like if you've listened to our podcast, you're well aware of what's going on with Ferris State, with how well they did this year. So not surprised that they were one of the most representative any school on here between first, second team, or honorable mention. They had 5 guys on this list. They had 3 offensive linemen. We've talked quite a bit about how massive and talented their O-linemen have been this season, how dominant they have been up front on the O-line, and D2football.com recognized that. They had a first team, second team, and honorable mention O-lineman. There was no other school in the country that had more than 1 offensive lineman recognized. The other 2 members were Jared Bernhardt was honorable mention. Quarterback, obviously, and then they did also have a honorable mention, second team D lineman. They had a second team D lineman as well. Any thoughts on Ferris State before I list some of the other players here? Their coach Anise was also named the coach of the year on this list.
That was a nasty ass offensive line.
How many of those guys are seniors?
The guy who is second team is a junior, Zane Obeid, and he announced for the NFL draft today. So that was also news today that he declared for the NFL draft, and he is a 6'5", 303 pound offensive lineman, junior.
And Dylan Pasquale was the national offensive lineman of the year in D2.
He was first team.
He's obviously going to probably declare for the draft.
He's a senior. He's a senior. Yeah. He is 6'5", 305 also.
Is he the second guy to leave early from D2 to go to the NFL and declare? Because wasn't there the tight end from Ashland?
Yeah.
That was 2
years ago. By the Bears. 4 years ago now.
I think it was long ago?
2018.
Yeah. It doesn't happen often. I don't feel like it is a big risk.
From D2, hell yeah.
I would imagine he's already got his degree. would be my guess. But with a guy that big, 6'5", 305, I mean, I would imagine the other offensive lineman whose honorable mention was also 6'5", 300. I mean, it's just amazing how big this those are their three of their O linemen that were all American guys. I think it's a testament to how good their O line is that no offensive players for Ferris State were named All American other than those three guys. And then Bernhardt got honorable mention, but I mean, he only played in 10 games. He missed like 3 or 4 of their games. So he probably would have been a first team guy and had a better shot at the Harlan Hill had he played in every game this year. He was injured and missed 3 or 4 games. He missed the second half of the D2 game. He got hurt. The national title game.
Sounds like we need to check that water in Big Rapids. Put some lead in your pipe.
A lot of PFAS up there. Relax. Livers are blown out.
So continuing on here with this list, Saginaw Valley had 2 guys on this list. They had a defensive back and a tight end who were on the list. Michigan Tech had an offensive lineman. Grand Valley had a linebacker on this list. And Hillsdale, my alma mater, had a defensive lineman on the list. So pretty cool to see, in addition to Ferris's 5 guys, that there were an additional 5 players from the state of Michigan D2 schools represented. So 10 guys from state of Michigan D2 schools on this list. And then
moral of the story.
Moral of the story.
Yep. If you're a lineman, come play football, D2 football in Michigan. Skill guys, probably not your thing.
That is probably true. It is
a testament to the talent of the GLIAC.
Absolutely.
And other than Hillsdale, none of these teams are leaving the GLIAC. So there you go.
No. I think it's cool to see so much talent from the conference represented there for sure. Yeah. So then the other topic here we just wanted to bring up really quickly. It's pretty cool. D2 football news. Matt Judon, former Grand Valley standout, All-American defensive lineman from Grand Valley, who's been playing with the Patriots, having a hell of a season, was named to the Pro Bowl. So he's a Pro Bowl selection. That guy has always amazed me. Kory and I both played against him. Brett knows who he is as well. Brett said he had a story he wanted to share about Judon.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know Matt Judon, he's a large man. He's
enormous.
I don't know, 6'6", probably weighs like 270 now. But at the time I had quit playing football at Grand Valley, and I was still living with a football player there. And my brother, he had just turned 18, graduated from high school, and he came up to visit me for the weekend. And I was at work at the time, and Kiefer came up early in the day because we were going to play softball together, my slow pitch softball that night. And Kiefer said, "Hey, I'm here." I said, "All right, well, I'm not there, so you can just climb through the back window." And to climb through the back window, it wasn't just like an easy climb. You had to like get thrusted up 6 feet and then climb into the back window because we didn't have a deck. And so Kiefer's buddy's like trying to get Kiefer up into this window, and all of a sudden Kiefer sees 2 large men walk around the back of the house. Kiefer had never met my roommate before, and he never met Matt Judon before. And he looks through, and they're both standing there looking at him, pretty intimidating guys. And they go, "What are you doing?" Kiefer like thrusted himself out the window, looks, he goes, "This is my brother's house." And they're like, "Okay. You just want to walk in the front door?" Like they played off completely, but Kiefer could probably tell the story better, but he shit himself. But no, more of the story, Matt Judon's a big dude.
Who was the other guy with him? Was it Don? Or no, it Cox?
It was Hunter Sharneski. He played defensive line. He was number 43. He was the guy that always wore the contacts that made your eyes look like cat eyes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I remember that.
Had long hair.
I don't
Crazy
remember
dude.
him.
Good, real nice guy. But he opened up he opened a training facility in Hudsonville, Freak Factory. Maybe you've heard of that. He used to have Judon back to train, but no. Good for Judon.
Yeah, he's having a heck of a season.
Body built by Taco Bell.
I used to have to block Matt Judon for fun, and it was not for fun.
You never heard that, Vince? He said he got interviewed. he got interviewed after a game for something about how he's so big or got so strong. He said, "My body's built by Taco Bell."
That is incredible. I had not heard that.
A lot of soda. That's a lot of sodium retention.
Look it up right now. Type in Matt Judon body built by Taco Bell.
I'll
get the video.
You want me to pull it up?
Yeah.
Well, but while I'm trying to pull this up, I was just going to mention he's having the best season of his career, obviously, with the honor that he just got. But currently 12 and a half sacks. The season's not quite over, but currently 12 and a half sacks, 57 total tackles, 35 solo. So he's doing. Oh, you got to pull it up.
Yeah.
Bodybuild.
And it's when they're doing the introductions in the middle of the game where you say your colleges.
Oh, he did that on TV? Oh, my God.
During his game, yeah.
He didn't say Grand Valley. He said Matt Judon, body built by Taco Bell.
I remember watching it live. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for him to say Grand Valley. He goes, body built by Taco Bell.
Do you think he gets in trouble? He got in trouble for
what Taco Bell do you guys go to on GV's campus?
Oh, they got one in Allendale now.
Oh, nice.
Prior to that, we had to go to Standale.
Yeah, I was gonna say there wasn't one close. I thought.
All right. Well, before we go down a rabbit hole talking about Taco Bell, you guys, everything else you want to add on this D2 stuff here? Otherwise, we'll move on to bowl games.
This is more of a football thing, and kudos to Matt Judon for having a great year. Did you guys see TJ Watt hit 21 and a half sacks on 12 games this season?
How many sacks did he have last night? Like 3?
I did
4. He had 4 last night. Just such a crazy stat. Like 12 games, you're averaging 2 sacks a game, practically, just under. Like a sack and 1.75 sacks a game. It's just crazy.
He's an impressive player. Him and his brother, man. Him and his brother, those Watt
brothers. Drinking gallons of milk in the farms of
animals.
Wisconsin.
They're animals.
Their name is very fitting. Watt, full of energy.
Good one, Brad.
Yes. Thanks, Dad.
All right. That was definitely a dad joke. All right. We're moving on here to bowl game news. First up, we have Central Michigan. Fire up chips, man. They beat Washington State. Huge win, 24-21. They were up 21-0 at one point. Were able to hang on. Did you guys see the stat from the MAC Twitter account? It was the first Power 5 bowl win by a MAC school in like 20 years or something crazy. I didn't see what the exact number was. 18. I think it was 18 years.
It was their first. No, that was their first win over the Pac-12/Pac-10 ever.
No, but I thought the MAC conference tweeted out it was the first time a MAC school beat a Power 5 school in a bowl game in 18 years.
Oh, maybe in a bowl game. Okay.
In a bowl game, yeah, because obviously Western just beat Pitt at Pitt this year. I thought they said that MAC school had not beaten a Power 5 school in a bowl game in like 18 years or something like that. Because you got to think, most of the time those MAC schools aren't paired with Power 5 schools in the bowl games.
Correct. They're paired with Nevada.
They're paired with mid-majors, or like Toledo got paired with Middle Tennessee State. So good for Central.
Play Boise.
Yes, yeah, good for Central. Huge opportunity, huge win for them. Lou Nichols, again, showcasing why he's one of the best running backs in the country. He had 29 carries, 137 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, that guy is a heck of a running back. He's led the nation obviously in rushing. He just added to that total with that bowl game. So good for Central, man. They ended the year in a 5-game win streak, finished the season 9-4, which is their best record since 2009. So pretty darn cool when they went 12-2 with Dan Lefebvre.
And Lou Nichols played behind a good O-line, which is also good to see. So we should see similar numbers when he transfers out next year. Because both the right tackle and the left tackle for CMU are both playing in the Senior Bowl. So that means they didn't at least get nominated. So
they didn't play in the bowl game. The right and left tackle did not play in the bowl game. They opted out.
Yeah. So good news.
Yeah, I think we should mention that Central, I think, Brett, you talked about this in the off season. Sometime this summer, we'll obviously reconvene in an episode and talk about our projections, for some of these schools going into the season. But I think Central is trending up, and with the season they had, I mean, they only had 2 MAC losses. Their 4 losses were to 2 SEC schools, Missouri and LSU, and then their other 2 losses, there are 2 in the MAC. Were to Northern Illinois by 1 point, and Miami of Ohio. If they beat Northern Illinois, they're in the MAC championship, and they have a 10-win season, maybe 11-win season. So they're very close to having an even better season.
They are going to lose some key pieces. Cleo Pimpleton, their scat guy, announced he's going pro.
Both starting offensive tackles were already gone.
They're losing both tackles. They're, at this point in time, they still have their quarterback coming back. But I guess just kind of circling back and talking about the bowl game, that was pretty funny that Jim McElwain, after they won the bowl game, he was doused in Frosted Flakes.
I did see that.
Pretty fun to watch. But also, the bowl game was not appropriately named. It was called the Sun Bowl, and it was raining and like 48 degrees.
It was not nice weather. I did see that. It was pretty nasty.
But I will say that I appreciated Antonio Brown displaying his love for Central this weekend. Nothing says Central Michigan besides that. Taking your shirt off and running.
Throwing the Cho Cities up in the middle of a game in New York where it's 31 degrees.
And then last night he was at the Brooklyn Nets game. He stayed in New York.
Barstool had his Uber driver on their podcast the other day.
Oh my God.
The guy that picked him up from the stadium.
That's hilarious.
Was this some random guy or was it like a legitimate guy?
It was an Uber guy. Some random dude.
What did he say?
I didn't get a chance to listen to the episode yet.
Oh,
download it.
We got to listen to that. Hell yeah.
All right. Before we go down too deep a rabbit hole with Antonio Brown, anything else with Central? Otherwise, we'll move on here to Michigan State real quick.
Fire up chickens.
Real quick before we do move on to Michigan State, I do want to mention, although Western didn't play this last week, we did mention going into next year how they had a very young offense and their quarterback coming back. But the quarterback, Caleb Ellerby, just announced today that he's going pro.
Shocker there. He was only a sophomore in the classroom.
Yeah.
So,
well, all right. Next up, then, before we get to Michigan, really quick, just talk about Michigan State won the Peach Bowl in Mel Tucker's second year. Michigan State goes 11-2, which is the first time in school history that a second-year coach won 10 or more games. So he had already set that milestone, but pretty cool to see them get their, I believe it was 11th win season since 2010 over Pittsburgh. Heck of a comeback. Michigan State played in probably one of the more crazy fourth quarter games of the bowl season. They were down 21-10 in the fourth quarter and scored 21 unanswered fourth quarter points, including a 78-yard pick six just about in as the game was, coming down to the wire there. Pittsburgh was making moves, moving down the field with a chance to take the lead or tie it with a field goal. And Cal Halliday, a redshirt freshman phenom, or is he true? I can't remember if he's a true freshman or redshirt freshman, but I know he's freshman eligibility. He took the ball 78 yards to the house. And I got to tell you, even though I was sick with COVID, I was pretty hype about that, jumping up and down. So I was excited.
Happy holidays, baby.
The announcers said happy holidays, and I just about put my head in my hands like, dude, come on. So yeah, heck of a win without Kenneth Walker. It was very clear how much he helped them this season as their rushing game suffered. Their leading rusher was Jordan Simmons, who had 23 yards rushing. Peyton Thorne set the single season touchdown record, broke Kirk Cousins' I believe 10-year-old record, threw for 27 touchdown passes in a season. Kirk Cousins' record, I think, was 24 or 25. So Peyton Thorne had 354 yards and 3 touchdowns, 29 of 50 for the game. So my fellow Michigan fans, what were your guys' thoughts?
I definitely think so Brett called this out a couple weeks ago. Pitt has like a top, I want to say 5 rush defense. So yes, I think K9 would have helped. I don't know necessarily what the outcome would have been.
That's true. They did have a good
Pitt had a very good rushing defense. And overall, they were, if you're watching the game, you're like, holy shit, Pitt's bullying Michigan State for probably the first 3 quarters.
I was shocked that they played as well as they did in that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Honestly, Pitt could have just as easily won. I mean, if Cal Halliday doesn't take that to the house, Pitt was moving the ball all the way down the field with a chance to win the game on a touchdown.
Well, that's what State's done all year, though. They play all 4 quarters, which is great to see. I mean, You can't teach that. If you can go into the fourth quarter and know, hey, our team could still win, that's a pretty damn good feeling. One thing I will say to defend Pitt a little bit, their second string quarterback got hurt, so they had to rely on their third string quarterback.
That was he got hurt in the first quarter. He broke his collarbone, I believe.
Oh, really?
He had surgery. Nick Patty had surgery.
Yeah, well, it's never good. Like you never want to play with your second string quarterback, then let alone your third string quarterback. You know you're like really in some shit. So that sucked for Pitt. But no, Michigan State, I mean, they did what they did all year, which is great to see.
21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. I mean, that screams Michigan game almost.
Yeah, literally.
That's pretty crazy.
So, yeah.
That third string quarterback, Davis Bevel, before he threw that interception, he was 14 of 18, 149 yards and 1 touchdown. He was, like I said, moving the ball down the field. I mean, he was not bad for a third string quarterback. I mean, I thought he did pretty well.
He was a little methodical, but yeah.
You also got to remember State has one of the worst defensive secondaries in the country.
Jalen Reed also staying at Michigan State. Big news for you guys.
Jaden Reed is staying. Jalen Naylor's gone.
Yeah, same thing. Jalen Reed. I'm just combining them both.
So Jaden Reed, I believe he announced he's staying. Jalen Naylor announced today, who is the leading receiver for the game. Jalen Naylor had been out since the Michigan game. He broke his hand in the Michigan game, and he came back for this one. He ended up having 108 yards receiving in this game. But Jaden Reed had 2 touchdown receptions. Jalen Naylor didn't catch a touchdown pass, but Naylor's gone. Reed is back. So Peyton Thorne is also going to be back. So with some weapons. But Michigan State is bringing in Caden Hauser. Everyone keeps talking about this recruit out of California, 4-star quarterback. Be interesting to see if he takes Thorne's job. I think Thorne, obviously had a very good season. He broke a record that Kirk Cousins set. So I don't know. Be interesting to see what Michigan State does next year. Obviously, Mel Tucker hit the transfer portal hard again, brought in some really good recruits. His recruiting class is one of the best. Even under D'Antonio would have been one of D'Antonio's best classes. So I think Michigan State reloads. I think they still have a good season next year. I don't know. Being in the Big Ten East, it is so hard with Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. I don't know what their chances of winning a Big Ten title, but I think they still, will be right back in the hunt next year.
Your boy Halliday might not be in East Lansing next year because they got 2 transfer linebackers who are both very good.
Yeah, that's another interesting story. Will be the linebacker situation. Will Quavaris, Crouch, and Halliday, who are both really good for Michigan State, will they be back? They're bringing some stud linebackers. Yeah, that's an interesting call there on the defense for sure. All right, let's move on here to our last bowl game news. Saving the saddest for last, I guess. My co-host here, obviously Brett talked about it last week. He was pretty pessimistic going into the game. I think the entire nation saw how good Georgia was. University of Michigan falling to Georgia in the college football playoff 34-11. Georgia's really freaking good. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Kick it off, Brett.
Michigan got bullied, plain and simple. Georgia was angry. They did play pissed fire off under their ass. And I mean, you watch some of the highlights from the games, and the trenches were Michigan's trenches were just destroyed by Georgia. There's highlights of George Pickens, their wide receiver, turning to the side, shushing Michigan's sideline, and then running to go block Daxhill and knocking him straight on his ass, and then looking back at the sideline and shushing him. They played angry, and they were better than Michigan top to bottom. I mean, there's nothing to argue about. That's not to take anything away from Michigan's season, though. I mean, my wife was like, "Are you mad?" I was like, "No, not at all. I would have been happy if Michigan played in the Outback Bowl this year, and they made the playoff and won the Big Ten. I mean, it just shows how far they need to go still. I mean, beating Ohio State was a great step, but they might have caught Ohio State a little off guard in the elements, but that doesn't matter. They still won, but they still have a ways to go. I mean, Georgia had 19 5-stars playing on their team. Michigan has 3 on their team. That's a pretty big talent gap. But not to discredit the season. It was a great season. I think all the players know it was a great season. Cade McNamara said it best. He said that it's going to hurt for a while, but after a couple of days pass, it's really going to set in on how great of a year it was, and they're going to cherish it. But obviously, it's a little bitter for the guys, but it'll give them something to work on going into the offseason. And Michigan's goal at the beginning of the year was to beat Ohio State and win the Big Ten. Georgia's goal was to beat Alabama and win a national championship. So, in a way, Georgia still had more left on their plate, in my opinion.
I agree with Brett. Georgia's very good, very fast, very physical. They were easily the better team. And actually, I'm not going to lie, I was super shocked at how well coached they were. Just from, I don't know, I don't ever watch SEC football, so I just think big, dumb, and talented, but they were very well coached. Couple things that I hated seeing just as like a football guy. I hate seeing like Michigan truly came out and played probably as bad as they could play too, to tackle. Well, maybe not as bad, but like they played bad, which just kind of kills it. Like they had penalties, they were making errors, like not playing to the whistle, blocking errors, turnovers, beating. So there was definitely things. Do I think they beat Georgia? Probably not. Do I think it could have been a hell of a lot closer? Yeah. But
turnovers killed them. Turnovers really made that game look worse than it could have been.
Well, early in the game, Georgia comes down and scores in 7 plays, and then we give them the ball at the 50-yard line. You just can't do it. I don't know what Jimmy Boy was thinking there. That was just kind of dumb. I get he's trying to get the juice flipped a little bit, but I don't know. It was frustrating to me because you come out and play bad, and you have a month to prepare, and you just shit down your leg, and it's like, man, but it is what it is. They beat us, and you live and you learn. I think Georgia did some really good things from a coaching perspective and a schematic perspective. So,
I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, but I think that the MVP in that game that didn't get enough touches, but if he would have touched the ball more, he would have won, is Donovan Edwards. He touched the ball a couple times in the first half, and he's going to be a phenomenal running back next year. I think he's going to start over Corum. I mean,
I was just about to say that.
He turns the corner, and he is got a head full of steam. He's big, he's fast, he's agile, he can catch the ball. I mean, one of the largest plays of the game for Michigan was he was split out way out right, and he ran the ball downfield, got past interference, and still caught the ball. I mean, the guy is just a talent, and understandably so. Hassan Haskins is also talented, but in a game like that, you need versatility, and he is probably our most versatile back from running and catching. And you even saw when JJ got put in the game, he's more versatile than McNamara. Do I think that JJ is a better quarterback than McNamara right now? No, I don't, but he's more versatile and he can make more things happen.
His ceiling's much higher. I think Donovan Edwards was one of the few players on that field where you looked at him and you were like, okay, he's comparable to the size and speed of Georgia. Yeah.
I mean, he was an SEC back. I think he was down to Michigan and Georgia when he was picking, but he's the type of guy when he's running with the ball, you can just tell. It's just his legs are massive. He long strides, like dude can play.
Yeah. We got beat. Fuck it.
It was supposed to be basketball, but maybe not.
We suck at that too.
We suck again. Do you guys want to mention, we were talking about this before we started the podcast tonight. I think we were texting about, I don't know if we talked about, the news this evening or afternoon with Jim Harbaugh. There was reports. I was kind of surprised by this because I would be shocked to see Jim Harbaugh leave Ann Arbor, but there was reports that he might go to Oakland, or that he was interested in Oakland and going to Las Vegas. Sorry, the Raiders. Jeez, Pete's, they're not Oakland anymore. But going to the Raiders.
Brett hit it on the head. It happens every year, so I'm not really too worried about it. He's bringing back a really good core too. If we were graduating everybody, I would be like, okay, he could have like a thought, but took a pay cut. Loves Ann Arbor. Obviously played his college ball there and was super successful. I don't foresee him leaving. So ever, actually, like ever.
Would be shocked. I don't know why that he would leave. I feel like he's got such a good thing going.
He's not stupid. Look at Nick Saban, same thing. Why leave?
Brett, I think you're muted, Brett. Brett's talking, but he's muted.
He's not leaving. He's been in the NFL before. He understands what it's all about. He's where he loves. Like Kory said, he's taking pay cuts. It's not about the money for him. It's about his joy. His family's there. He's coaching with his son, Jay Harbaugh, the special teams coach, who actually just got special teams coach of the year. But he's not going anywhere. Besides last year, every single year the season's ended, it's been chatter. I mean, there was talk he was going to the Bears a couple years ago where he used to play quarterback, or the Colts where he used to play quarterback. He's not going anywhere.
Didn't they say he has more 10-win seasons in his time at Michigan?
He's got 5.
He has 4. When was his first season? 2014?
2015.
He has 4. Yeah, this was his 4.
I thought it was his 5th one.
10-3, 10-3, 10-3, and 15, 16, 18, and now 12-2. But before he showed up, I mean, they had only had 1 10-win season in the previous 10 years. So 2 in the previous 10 years, 12 years. Yeah, they had 1 in 2006 and 1 in 2011. Otherwise, they hadn't had any since 2003. So
Lloyd Carr's last season and Brady Hoke's first season.
Yeah. So I mean, he's got them winning games. I mean, he got the monkey off his back to finally win the Big Ten. I mean, that wasn't even him. That was Michigan in general. Michigan hadn't won, the conference since 2004, right? Wasn't it the last conference championship, 2004?
Yeah, 2004 with Chad Henne.
So, I mean, they got that monkey off their back. They beat Ohio State. So I don't know why he'd be leaving. I think he's going to bring a lot of recruits in and be competitive. Well, all right. Let's move on here. Just a couple things left we're going to talk about. We are going to save the Lions till the very end because that'll be brief, unless you guys want to talk Lions now, or do we want to save that to the very end?
Lions last. Let's stay on the college train.
So the last thing we want to do here before we mention the Lions for a little bit is we want to talk about Michigan college football as a whole now that the season is done for all the Michigan teams. Obviously, there is one bowl game being played right now, and then the national championship game is next week. But we thought we would bring up our rankings, maybe debate a little bit here as a podcast, the three of us, deciding who are the 10 best college football teams in the state of Michigan this year. I think we unanimously don't really need to debate the top 2. Ferris State, I think we can all agree, number 1. Obviously, this is all hypothetical rankings, as Ferris State, would never play Michigan. Michigan would beat Ferris State, but Ferris State, if you are listening, was the only undefeated team in the country in all divisions this year. D1, D2, D3, FCS. They're the only team that went undefeated. All other national champions had at least one loss, or teams playing for the national title. So Ferris State went 14-0, number 1. I think we can probably all agree Michigan, number 2.
Yep.
At 12-2, college football playoff appearance.
MSU number 3. That one's pretty easy as well.
Michigan State number 3 at 11-2. I had put Grand Valley at number 4. But I think we maybe could argue Central Michigan for number 4. What do you guys think?
I think Albion should be number 3. They won their conference. Michigan State didn't win their conference.
Are you trying to bait me?
Yep.
I'm going to disagree just because of the MIAA, and I'm going to disagree for Vince. On behalf of Vince, I'm supporting Michigan State here, Vince. So take a deep breath, baby. Enjoy this. But I would just say the MIAA has very little power in Division III football, so I feel like it's kind of me.
Yeah, we've talked about on the podcast before comparing D3 conferences. I think we're always going to support the MIAA. It's something that we're going to talk about on this podcast. But if we're going to compare cross divisions here in the state, I think the D3 conference, unfortunately, kind of falls by the wayside just because they do get suffocated by so many other teams, unfortunately. Albion will be on this list. So what do you guys think for number 4? I still think Grand Valley. Grand Valley went 10-2.
Hold on a second.
To the
you
Sweet
never let
16.
Me say my side of it.
Oh, what were you going to say? Oh, you're still going to argue for Albion number 3. Okay, go ahead, Brett.
You got to say your side of it. I never got to. You said let's have a debate. And you said your side, and I never said my side. So my side is Vince was going purely off hypotheticals. And yeah, the MIAA doesn't get a lot of love, but they still play each other as a conference. As a whole, the Big Ten probably, although you could probably debate about this too, is not as good as the SEC. So you saying Michigan's Big Ten win in the SEC or Michigan's Big Ten championship isn't as good as Alabama's SEC championship? I mean,
I didn't say
if we're
that.
talking purely hypotheticals, we got to go teams that won their conference first. So Michigan State would be 4. But you're the host, so I will let you win this time.
No, we're co-hosts.
All right, well, you heard it here first, folks. Albion, the 4th best team in the state of Michigan.
All right, so how this is going to work, we're making this up on the fly. It's going to come to a vote, majority rules. So I think it sounds like Kory is for Michigan State at number 3. I'm for Michigan State at number 3. I think an 11-win season in the Big Ten, winning a New Year's Six bowl, beating Michigan, who is a conference champion, beating Pittsburgh, who is a Power 5 conference champion. I just think that they're slightly ahead of Albion. Kory, you still
agree?
Michigan State? Agree. Okay, so Michigan State's going to be at our number 3 here. So then we want to talk Albion for number 4?
No.
Yes.
I get they made the playoffs, but the conference is just not great. I'm sorry.
No, I know, but good. It's not about that. It's about season expectations. It's not about their conference. I mean, the MAC.
Well, if it's about expectations, Michigan finished first.
The MAC isn't good either. I'm just saying you should. If you put a trophy in your case, it should be respected. It doesn't matter if your conference
the MAC
sucks.
Is good.
You can only play who's on. No, the MAC is not good compared to other conferences. If
What's
you put a
trophy
this
year,
probably like 2-6.
Who? Say wait.
The
what?
MAC? What's the MAC's bowl record?
3-5. 3-5.
3-5. Okay, I was 1 game off. I mean, that's still pretty bad.
The MIAA hasn't won 3 playoff games in.
Okay, so yeah. So here's my argument. I originally was going to do Albion 4, but now Kory's changing my mind too. I think Grand Valley deserves 4. Grand Valley's 2 losses were to the national champion. They went to the Sweet 16 in the D2 playoffs. They made it to the second round of the playoffs. Albion had a conference loss. They were 9-1, and then they got blown out in the first round of the playoffs. And I also agree the MIAA has not really set a standard for winning playoff games. So that would be my only argument for Grand Valley at number 4 and Albion number 5.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah. What do you agree, Kory? So are we outvoting Brett again?
I mean, I want to hear what I understand.
I understand what Brett's saying too. I understand what he's saying.
But at the same time, I just can't take. It's not a Division III even problem at this point. I just don't like that. Albion has come out of the MIAA, which isn't strong, and gotten smacked in the playoffs. Like every MIAA team, it doesn't matter who they are. I mean, Hope, Adrian, doesn't matter.
I mean, Michigan got smacked in the playoffs.
Yeah, but Michigan also went.
So does
Michigan only lost
pretty much
2 games.
The thing is, Michigan's loss to Georgia was the 3rd highest margin of a Big Ten loss in the playoffs. So, I mean, Big Ten gets blown out too. I'm just saying we're talking about – I'm not saying that they're going to win the playoffs. I'm saying they have a trophy in their case. They beat who's on their schedule. I mean, that has to be worth something in this argument.
I will side with Brett. We'll go Albion number 4. So then what do we think? Sorry, Kory. I'll get you here, Brett, because I can see the argument. So then we're going to go Grand Valley number 5 then?
Yep.
The only reason I would say Grand Valley over Central is just because Central had 4 losses, 2 conference losses, even though both their non-conference losses were SEC. Grand Valley's 2 losses were the national champion. So we like Central at 6.
Yeah, I'd go Central, Western, and then Hope.
Although Western beat Central.
Yeah, but
Western did beat Central. Western finished 8-5. They won their bowl game. Western beat both conference champions.
They beat Pitt, the
Western
ACC champ.
Ooh, I can see an argument for this. Western beat
now
Pitt
this is a good argument
at Pitt. And Western also wasn't it Western who beat both the conference championship teams, or they beat Northern Illinois and Kent State, right?
Kent State.
Yes,
yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
They beat both the teams that played for the MAC title. I can
All right,
see
Western at 5.
Thank you.
over Grand Valley. Oh, we're moving Grand Valley down.
Oh, no. Sorry,
No.
GB at 5. Western at 6.
Okay, Central at
But
7 then.
But I think Western would beat Albion, so put them in front of them.
Well, I think the Lions.
I
beat
do-
all the other
I
six
do-
guys, six
I
girls.
do.
Put the Lions at number 1.
I do. So we should add this again as a disclaimer. Obviously, we understand that a team like Michigan would beat Albion or Ferris State, but I do kind of see what Brett's saying for the sake of argument here for accomplishments overall. What did your team accomplish this season? So I think that's pretty good so far. We can fill out 3 more spots here in 8, 9, and 10. Kory argued for Hope next at 8 and 2. I could see that argument, or even Saginaw Valley went 7 and 4.
I would say Hope at 8 and 2. That's one of those
Finished
ones.
runner.
That
Hope beat Albion.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, though, that MIAA in Division 3 is so freaking weird. Like any other time, Hope potentially, if they play in a different conference, they could have made the playoffs at 8 and 2. But I just don't think that MIAA gets any love. So
They don't. They don't tend to get as much love. That is for sure. Brett?
I'm trying to figure out what Concordia's record was this year.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going NCAA. I wasn't doing NAIA. I was just doing NCAA.
yeah. Nobody likes that Jakey Hoopty conference. Jesus.
Okay. Then I would probably go.
So we said Hope at number 8 after Central. Are you cool with that for the second? Technically, they tied with Albion for the conference championship. They were both 5 and 1. But they did not get the bid for the playoffs because Albion beat them. So that's what I like.
I would go. I'd probably go Hope. I also I don't know why I just realized this. Why are like 80% of the MIAA schools or mascots like to a European country? We got the Alma
the Dutch.
Scots. We got the Dutch. We got the
Britons.
Because all the rich people started them.
It's true.
So
Eastern Michigan at 9.
do
Fly
we
Eagles
want
fly.
Eastern over Michigan Tech and Saginaw Valley finished 3rd and 4th in the GLIAC? It's
Actually-
4 and 7 and 4. Do you like them or Eastern?
Who did SVSU lose to?
Grand Valley, Ferris.
Saginaw Valley got beat by Ferris, Grand Valley, and I believe Tech.
They lost 4 games.
They lost the non-conference though. They were 4 and 3 in the conference.
So, yeah, I would say probably Sag Nasty has to take 9.
You like SVSU? At
Yeah.
7 and 4.
Because
And-
3 losses, two of the losses came to playoff teams. And
Yeah.
who else did they play? I have no idea.
They had 3 conference losses. Tech was finished ahead of them. Even though Tech went 6 and 4, they went 5 and 2 in the conference. Tech actually had a better conference record than Saginaw Valley.
Yeah.
I think
They
they
lost
beat
to Texas
Saginaw Valley.
A&M Kingsville.
Saginaw Valley.
Yeah.
You don't think Tech should go over Saginaw Valley since it looks like they beat them?
Hold on really quick. I'll tell you in about 30 seconds. Brett, you have anything to say?
I think that Michigan Tech should
Ooh.
get the benefit just because they have to drive 10 plus hours to every away game besides Northern.
Michigan Tech beat Saginaw Valley 21-20 the last game of the year.
So, yes, Michigan Tech over Saginaw Valley. Texas A&M Kingsville was 5 and 5. Not very good.
So listen to this. Michigan Tech played Grand Valley twice. They played Grand Valley in a non-conference game. It was not counted as a conference game the 3rd week of the year. So 2 of their losses are to Grand Valley, and one of them is to Ferris. And then their other loss, St. Thomas, Minnesota, 12-9, who is a really good D3 school. Those are Tech's 4 losses. So I almost wonder if Michigan Tech deserves the number 9 spot.
I'm pretty sure St. Thomas is now D1.
I don't think so. I thought they were a D3 school. Are they not D3 anymore?
I thought they just bounced to D1. The Toms.
I don't know their mascot, St. Thomas, Minnesota.
Yeah, they're D1 now. They're in the Summit League or the Pioneer League. Sorry, they moved to D1.
They went
this
from
year.
D3 to FCS.
Yeah, because Brady Gravold, who I played in the All-Star game with, who I've been close with, well, not close with, like social media close with, he actually coaches there now, and they just got moved last year. Yeah, they're in the Pioneer Football League.
The Tommies, interesting. So yeah, they went 7-3. So that was they beat Michigan Tech 12-9. Yeah, wow, that's pretty crazy. So I think Tech deserves the number 9 spot. Then Tech played a really tough schedule, even though they finished 6-4. So what do we think then for the 10th spot? Do you guys like Saginaw Valley or Eastern Michigan?
Northwood University.
Northwood went 1-9. They were only one of 2 schools in the state to win only 1 game. Them in Kalamazoo.
I think you got to put the Nasty up there.
Sag Nasty.
Yep.
What about Olivet? What about Olivet College? 7-3.
Olivet did finish 7-3.
They got a lot of love last week. We're going with Sag Nasty.
Sorry, Ryan. Sorry,
they got no love because we didn't get retweeted. So Olivet College football. Let's check out their schedule.
They did favorite some of our tweets. All right. So our top 10, we will put this out.
What the fuck? Why don't I get to debate? Brett got to debate his bullshit.
I don't know. You're still debating the number 10 spot here? What do you
Olivet College. They went 7-3.
All right.
And lost to Hope and Albion.
And who else?
Trine.
So they finished 4th in the MIAA then? Yeah, they did. No. They finished 4th. Because Albion and Hope were tied for 1st. Trine was 2nd. And then
SVSU finished 4th.
SVSU finished 4th, but I would think that is more impressive than finishing 4th in the MIAA, just because 2 of their losses were to a national champion and a Sweet 16.
Okay, that's fair.
That's the only reason I would say Saginaw Valley.
That's fair.
So our final rankings here as a podcast that we voted on, top 10 state of Michigan college football teams. NCAA, we did not do NAIA. Number 10, Saginaw Valley at 7-4. Michigan Tech, number 9 at 6-4. Hope College, number 8 at 8-2. Central Michigan, number 7, 9-4. Western Michigan, number 6 at 8-5. Grand Valley, number 5 at 10-2. Albion College, number 4 at 9-2. Michigan State, number 3 at 11-2. University of Michigan, number 2 at 12-2. And Ferris State is our number 1 team in the 2021 season at 14-0, D2 national champions. Guys, any thoughts on this list here before we move on?
Go Dogs. I think
it's a pretty solid list. It's pretty solid.
I think it's a good list. I think it's fair.
Competitive list. Yeah.
I think we will definitely reconvene sometime later this year and talk preseason rankings. I think that'll be fun. We'll definitely go over some of these teams here and who we think will be, the teams to watch at all levels going into the 2022 season. All right. Last but not least, well, maybe least, because the Lions do fucking suck. The Lions lost again. They are now what? 2-13-1. Yeah, with one game left. They're playing the Packers at home. Kory, I'll start with you. How you feeling, man?
We're just not good, and we have nothing to work with. I mean, it's like watching
I think we should add how many guys were out for this game against Seattle that they just lost.
I have no idea. I didn't even count.
It was a lot. I thought I saw the official list on Twitter before I watched some of the game. There was like at least a dozen guys who were out due to injuries and COVID.
Oh yeah, we've had guys out all year with injury though. That's not even an excuse anymore.
That's true. That's true.
I feel bad for Dan Campbell because we just suck. I'm talking to you, America. The Lions just suck so bad. Like, it's just, we have no talent. We have zero talent. That's all I got.
I would beg to differ.
That we have talent?
Yep. We don't have very good talent top to bottom, but I think that the Lions do have some promising pieces right now. And I mean, they won 2 games. They probably realistically could have won about 5 games, which given the amount of talent on the roster is a huge thing. And yeah, they might suck, but I think with a couple more pieces of the puzzle, they have the right man in place. And Kory, I agree. You feel bad for Dan Campbell because you feel he's the right guy. But I have a little bit of optimism for the Lions because this team has not given up. They've had multiple injuries.
Yes.
They've had a coaching change. They've had a quarterback change from a new quarterback that's been there for a decade. And they got a guy named Jared Goff, who was more of a game manager. They lost their kicker, Matt Prater, their top wide receiver. They didn't pay, and he left, which is probably a good thing. Their running back draft classes that they've had over the last 15 years have been atrocious, and it looks like they might have started to find some guys that can run the football effectively. And Swift has been hurt the past couple weeks, and he was finally back last week. They've had a receiver room that's been hurt, and they're young, but I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a really promising piece. He was rookie of the month in December. Their defense is pretty bad, but I think with a couple more free agency pickups and some decent draft results, they can turn that around. I think they're almost there. That's the thing that's so close. They're almost there. They've locked in a top 2 pick in this draft with that loss. It's up to them and the Jaguars. If the Lions lose this week and the Jaguars win, the Lions will have the first pick in the draft. But they suck. I will agree with that. But
I was going to say, you're taking they suck out of context. It's not like I'm giving up and I don't think this is going to work and there's no hope. We just literally don't. We have very minor, if the average talent level in the NFL is here, the Lions talent level is probably here.
So you got to give them credit for what they've done.
We just suck. I mean, there's not any, you can't say they don't suck.
Well, they're not the worst team.
Pretty much tied. The other team doesn't even have a coach. The other team's coach was getting booty dances in the bar midway through the season. So
the Lions point differentials are like 7th or 8th worst in the NFL. They're not even the worst. So they've been in games. They've lost, I don't know how many games, 5 or 6 games by 1 score or less.
Including the tie.
It might even be more than that.
It is 6, 7. They've lost or tied 7 games by 8 points or less.
Yeah.
7. If you count the tie, 7 games decided by 8 points or less. And
I agree, Brett. We have promise. Our offensive line is very promising. There's pieces, but as overall talent level of the team, of the 53-man roster, 85% of them suck.
It's true. It's true.
That's my only argument.
Yeah. 6. Here's a better differential for you, Brett. 6 games by 4 points or less.
Okay, yeah,
that's even crazier
because
I said 7 because I included the 49ers game was an 8-point loss to start the season. But truly, the crazier stat is 7 of those games, or 6 of those games, the tie and 5 losses are by 4 points or less. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So they're doing exactly what you want them to do: be competitive but lose.
They're like gambling. They keep you tied in just close enough, and then you lose all your money.
Just keep edging you.
Just keep swimming.
Everybody likes a good edging.
Yeah, everyone needs a nice edging in their life.
It's good for the prostate or something like that.
Well, all right, guys. Do you have anything else after that we want to add, or we're gonna wrap this up?
Yeah, I don't I think the line season would be okay just being done now. We don't need that extra week.
No, we do not.
The last thing that I would add here before we wrap things up is just the bowl pick'em. We are 2 games away from determining our winner. There's a game playing right now. Hopefully you pick Kansas State. They're up 21-0 on LSU. This is just kind of a random ass extra bowl game thrown in between the college football playoff games here. So as of right now, Chris James is in sole first place with a 1-point lead over Zach Willoughby, Addison Carter, Aaron Tuck, and yours truly. Very close. Going to be coming down to this game and the pick for the national championship. So
how am I going to split up this money?
We'll talk about it. We're going to have to talk about it. So anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed episode 7 here. Oh, sorry.
No. We're not done yet.
Uh-oh.
Vince is trying to edge me here.
I don't know. What, maybe you got something else I asked.
Maybe I'm trying to edge you. Yeah, you asked and you just kept talking. So going into the new year, we were talking about segments here on the podcast. And one of our segment is all of us are beer drinkers, and we know a lot of the listeners are beer drinkers too. So every week we're going to have a beer of the week. And the beer of the week is going to be a craft beer from a Michigan brewery. So I'm going to take the honors this week and do the first beer of the week on the podcast. So brace yourself.
Miller Lite.
Drum roll, please. We're not. So the beer of the week is the Neighborhood IPA. The Neighborhood IPA is from Brass Ring Brewing, which is in the heart of Algier Heights neighborhood, about 10 minutes south of Grand Rapids. The Brass Ring Brewing is citrus on the front end, bitter on the back, made with I don't even know how to say this, Paradigm hops from our neighborhood hop grower. And the cool thing about this beer is because it's called the Neighborly IPA, they donate 20% of their sales of the beer to Kids Food Basket, helping to care for those most in need. It has 90 IBUs and the ABV is 7.3. So I'd highly recommend going to Brass Ring in South Grand Rapids when you get a chance. Maybe have a burger, go and see Mike and Scott. It's a great brewery. Highly recommend it. But Neighborly IPA.
Are you going to show us the bottle you're looking at, or what are you looking at right now?
Huh? No, I have a can of it at home, but since I'm at the airport, I was just reading their menu. We'll drop the link.
Now you're making me hungry.
Oh, their burgers are so good. Their fries are incredible too.
Oh, now you're just making me
I'm just going to do Miller Lite every week.
Kory Schraben back with your beer suggestion. This time it's Miller Lite.
In a can instead of a bottle.
Next time it'll be Miller. Next time it'll be Miller High Life.
Tastes like piss in a bottle. If you like piss in a bottle, go and get your Miller Lite.
All right. I guess I'll ask this time. Anything else, gentlemen, so I don't get yelled at?
Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe.
Oh, you're stealing. I have a whole
Go
thing.
ahead. Go ahead. Say it.
I got a whole thing. All right. Well, thank you for listening to episode 7 here. Great Lakes State Football. Appreciate everyone who took the time to listen to a couple of idiots talk football in the state of Michigan. After you're done listening to this episode, head over to Twitter. Follow us at GLSF Ball, BALL. Then go over to Instagram. Follow us at Great Lakes State Football. After you do that, head over to YouTube. Search Great Lakes State Football. Subscribe, like, comment. If you're already watching over on YouTube, share that video. If you have a favorite podcast store, go over to that podcast store, add the podcast, Great Lakes State Football, Apple, Spotify, 5-star review, give us a comment. Appreciate the love. Appreciate you listening. We'll be back next week with another episode talking everything football in the state of Michigan, Great Lakes State Football. Kory, Vince, Brett, go green.
Go blue.